هواي شفنا بالإعلام وهواي قرينا بالمواقع التواصل وشفنا بالتلفزيون وأصدقائنا حكولنا شنو المعاناة اللي هم مروا بيها، بس الفيديو
ئەزمونکردنی ئەم پرۆژەیە لە ڕاستیە ئەو باتە جۆرێکی ترەوانێ و دنیایەکی جیاوازە پیشانەیەکە ئەو لێکە ئەو ژیانەی ئەوان ببین کە لە چ دۆخێکی باشەوانێ کەوتونەتە چ دۆخێکی نالەبارەوانێ
بە تەواوی ئەدباتە ناو ڕووداوەکانەوە، یعنی ئەدباتە نێو مەشهەدەکانەوە، یعنی وەکو وایە کە تۆ لەو شوێنەیە بی زۆر جار یعنی وا هەستەکەی کە تۆ بەشێکی لەو ڕووداوانە.
ئەزمونێکی زۆر جیاواز بوو. ئێمە هەمومان گوێمان لەو کارەسات و بەسەرهاتانە بووە کە بەسەر یەزیدیەکانە هاتوون، بەڵام هەستکردن بە کارەساتەکە و بە شێوەیەکی ئیفتیرازی بڕۆیتە ناو کارەساتەکەەوە بێگومان هەستت زیاتر ئەجوڵێنێت و بیرورات بە تەواوی ئەگۆڕێت دەربارەی ئەزمونەکە.
تجربة الفي آر وضحت لنا معاناتهم، وضحت لنا الجو اللي هم كانوا عايشين به، الأحداث اللي صارت، يعني سوت لنا مثل صورة أوضح عن المأساة اللي صارت أو عملية الإبادة الجماعية اللي صارت وياهم.
مأساة، يعني الواقع اللي عاشوه مستحيل حيطلعون منه بسهولة، لأن أنا هسه ما قدرت، يعني مجرد سمعت صوت داعش يعني رأسا تأذيت.
يعني كان عندي أصدقاء يزيديين سنين طويلة، فالشعور اللي حسيته أكيد يعني شعور محزن، خلاني استفزني عصبني، لأنه ما بيدنا شيء نسوي.
قدرنا ندخل لعمق مدن الأزيديين، هاي المدن اللي احنا كان المفروض نزورها منذ سنوات منذ أشهر، لكن ما سنحت الفرصة أن نزورها. كان شعور مؤلم جدا.
بيجوي دس بيبكم زورة رسام تكوتب واقعي أوان، يعني حسب وابستومان واقعي كي زورنا خوش بو، بلام كدسم بيكرد زياتر شعوره كان لامرون بويا، يعني دسا كان مكوتنا الرزين.
Come in and have a cup of tea. It's a big tradition for us Yazidis. It's important to feed our guests and make them feel welcome. A Yazidi family has lived in this tent for 5 years. 350,000 of us are stuck in camps, unable to return to our homes. ISIS tried to destroy us. They killed over 12,000 Yazidis and captured more than 6,000 women and children. It's not over. At least 3,000 women and children are still in captivity in Syria and Iraq.
شێوەیەک وەکو تەلەڤیزۆنەکانیە بە هیچ شێوەیەک وەکو ئیخبارەکانێکە باس دەکرێت لەبەرەوەی لە ئیخبارەکان ڕستمان پێشان دەدرێت ڤیدیۆمان پیشان دەدرێت باسی ئەو کەسانە دەکرێت کە لە کەمپەکان دەژین یان چیان بەسەر هاتێ و چیرۆکە دەژێردرێتەوە بەڵام ئەو شتێک کە من ئەوڕۆ برێن تەماشام کرد و ئەکسپریەنسم کرد شتێکی زۆر جیاوازە بۆ خۆم هەستم پێکرد کە بە خۆم لە نایمە کە بە خۆم لە گەریانم کە بە خۆم جیان لێ ڕادەگرم کردەکان بۆ دەژێرنەوە
پێویستە بەڕاستی کردداری زۆر بکرێت پێویستە ئەوان بە شێوەیەکی دەرونی یارمەتیان بدرێت جێگاکانیان زیاتر ئەمن و ئەمانی تیابێت تاکو هەز بە ترس نەکەن و هەز نەکەن کە ئەو کارە ساتەی ڕوویدا لە هەر کاتێک بکە بۆی هەیە دووارە ڕوو بداتەوە
مۆزوعەکە ببێتە ینی قسەی گشتی هەمووان یارمەتی ئەوە بدەینکەوە ئەمان ئەو کارەساتە ژیان چۆن تەعویز کرێتەوە بۆیان و لە ئەخیرە حکوومەت ڕۆڵێکی زۆر گەورەی هەیە لە مۆزوعەیە یعنی ئەبێ کار بکا بۆ ئەوەی کەوا چیتر ئەم جۆرە کارەساتانە دووبارە نەبێتەوە.
أنت اليوم بتمر بقصة مؤلمة لهذا أو لهذه الدرجة من أبناء بلدك وتظهر مرة أخرى وتروي هذه القصة بكل شجاعة، إذن هناك أمل كبير وتفاؤل لدى أبناء الديانة الأزيدية.
گەورەترین شت ئەوەیە کە بتوانرێت کە بۆیان بکرێت ئەوەیە کە ڕێز لەو ئازارە بگیرێت کە بۆیان کراوە ئیتر لەلایەن ڕێکخراوەکانی کۆمەلگەی مەدەنی بێت لەلایەن حکوومەتەوە بێت لەگەڵ لەلایەن ئینتەرناشنال ئۆرگانایزیشنەکانەوە بێت بەڕێگەیەک لە ڕێگەکان پیشانی بێت کە ئەو ئازارێک ئەوان چەشتویانە ئازاری ئێمەشە وەکو ئینسان و ئێمە وەکو ئینسانێک دڵمان لە لای ئێوەیە و ئەتوانین پشتیوانی ئێوە بین گەورەترین شت هەر ئەوەیە.
Okay, let me think about it in Kurdish. Wait.
وەکو پەیام من هەرچی پەیامێکیان بۆ بگێنم یعنی تەعویزی ئەو حاڵەتانە ناکە کە ئەوان تێژیاون خۆشەویستیم بۆیان هەیە هیوادارم بە ئاشتی بژێن هیوادارم ئەو شتانی کەوا ژیاون بالمقابل تەعویز بکرێنەوە یعنی شێوازێکی ژیانی ئاشتی خوازی و خۆشەویستی بژێن هەتاکو ماوە
یارمەتیدەری ئێوە ئەبین کە ئەو ئەزمونە ناخۆشی کە لەو کاتەی ژیانی ئێوە ڕوبەڕووی بوونەتەوە هەوڵێین ئێمەش ئەو بتوانین ئەو ئەزمونە لای ئێوە بڕەوینەوە یان پێتان لەبیر بکەین.
الرسالة اللي راح نوجهها لكم احنا وياكم راح نكون بقادم الأيام حتى تقدرون تحصلون على حقوقكم حتى اللي صار وياكم سابقا بعد ما يتكرر.
هرچەنە ئەو کارەساتەیەکە بەسەر خوشک و برای زیدیەکانمانە هاتووە بە پەیامێک و بە کردارێک و بە خەمێک یاخود خەم دەربڕین بۆ ئەوان کۆتایی نایات پێویستە ئێمە هەمومان لە پەیام زیاترمان هەبێت بەڵام ئەوەی کە پێمانەکرێت پەیام بڵین ئێمەش لەگەڵتانین ئێمەش هەست بە هەموو ئازارێکتان ئەکەین و بە هەموو توانایەکمانەوە هەوڵ ئەدەین کە لەو ئازارانە کەم بکەینەوە و یارمەتیتان بین.
لا أنا عندي أصدقاء أكره نفسي لأني كنا أعرف كل هاي التفاصيل.
My name is Ryan D'Souza. I'm the curator of the Nobody's Listening exhibition. I had the pleasure of meeting Nadi Murad and Mr. Ahmed Kudeda, Deputy Executive Director of Yazidi in 2016 on the sidelines of the World Humanitarian Summit in Istanbul. It had a profound impact on me, and me and my boss worked with Ms. Murad and Yazidi on their global campaign to establish a UN investigative team to investigate the crimes perpetrated by ISIS against the Yazidi community. Sadly, I left New York and that NGO and I moved to the UN. It was based in Somalia. Towards the end of my deployment, I was speaking to Mr. Kudeda about the situation facing the Yazidis today, and it's absolutely dire. Despite the incredible work of Nadia and people like Amal Clooney, there's still not a single fighter brought to justice for the genocide against the Yazidi community or crimes against humanity and other atrocities committed against other ethno-religious communities across northern Iraq. Having worked in genocide prevention for over 10 years, if we don't, recognize the genocide, if we don't bring and deliver justice, these crimes will be committed again. So it's absolutely imperative that we try our best. And we see the situation facing the Yazidi community and other ethno-religious communities as the same across the world and other persecuted communities. If we fail to deliver justice for a group that is as heinous as ISIS, we will find it very difficult to deliver justice for other genocides committed today. We started Nobody's Listening in 2018, and it's a new form of advocacy. I think the old traditional ways of advocacy aren't working, and we want to see how we can use new technology like virtual reality as well as art and other forms of artwork, sculpture, poetry, and integrate an advocacy campaign into that and see how we can use culture as a tool and a vehicle to deliver political change and inspire action across the public as well as decision makers as well. It's been a privilege and an honor to work with Yazda, a Yazidi global organization based in Iraq and around the world every step of the way of this project. We collected paintings from Yazidi survivors in IDP camps in northern Iraq, as well as those Yazidis living in Germany. We also reached out to other NGOs based in Iraq, Christian NGOs, Shia Turkmen NGOs, to work with them, and it's been a privilege to work with the community and to have their trust in highlighting the stories of the survivors. We are deeply honored to launch this exhibition at ZKM Museum. This whole project is about both utilizing art and integrating a human rights campaign, and ZKM, given their prominence in both art, of course, but in promoting human rights causes, made this the natural choice. The fact that this is also in Karlsruhe with the Federal Supreme Court, and this whole exhibition is about justice, made this again a very beautiful collaboration. We've been working with the German NGO Society for Threatened People for a number of years, and right from the beginning of this project, and it always felt that it was the right place to launch this exhibition in Germany, given the important role played by the state of Baden-Württemberg in taking in 1,100 women survivors who were then rehabilitated under the guidance of Dr. Jan Kizzelhan, an absolutely heroic scheme that should inspire other governments to take similar action. And it was really an honor to then base this exhibition using art and human rights advocacy at an institution like ZKM, which promote both. The whole purpose of Nobody's Listening is to use art and new technology like virtual reality to inspire action that can help and benefit the communities who are still at risk of future atrocities. So we want this not to be a static exhibition, but one that could also reach out and go out and be as mobile as possible to communities. And again, it's been an honor to work with Society for Threatened People and to support their education and outreach campaign. And we also want to take this exhibition around Germany to UN headquarters in New York and Geneva, but then also to other parts of the world where the awareness of the genocide is very minimal. We premiered the virtual reality experience in the Parliament of Iraq, and the outcome and the results was absolutely phenomenal to see the impact it had on decision makers in Iraq. We also showed this at universities in different cities across Iraq to 120 people to assess the impact of the virtual reality experience. And again, the results has been phenomenal to see the lack of awareness of the Yazidi people, the culture, and the genocide. So we hope that this tool can be used as an educational tool, both in Iraq and outside. We hope that Nobody's Listening will inspire positive responses from the public and from decision makers in Germany and across the world. We hope to take this as many places as possible. We would like the support of stakeholders to do so. This is both to capitals, to the UN headquarters, but also to universities, to schools, so that we can increase awareness, but also urge more justice, more recognition, so that we can deliver a better future for communities that are affected in northern Iraq, but also to create a greater understanding about the importance of genocide prevention around the world.
I'm Tabea Giesecke. I work for the Society for Threatened People, and the Society for Threatened People is an international human rights organization who advocates for ethnic, religious minorities, nationalities, and also indigenous communities. And we are one of the cooperation partners for this exhibition, and our aim is to inform the public about all the exterminations and persecutions of minority groups. As a human rights organization, you can see on a daily basis that the voices of minorities are almost always overheard, that they are mostly, no one is really listening. What also is the exhibition about, with nobody's listening. And because of this is really important for us to give minorities a platform or some space to speak about all the atrocities they are facing on a daily basis. To bring more awareness to this topic, Burkhard Gauli, the now chairman of the Society for Threatened People, get in contact with the ZKM so that we can have this collaboration and launch this exhibition in partnership. This is really important for us because the ZKM is one of the biggest cultural platforms for us in Germany. It's always good to reach a broader public together. The main target group for the outreach campaign are schools and universities. This is really important because these are the next generation of people who can make a change. So this is why we take some of the prints from the exhibition to these classes and try to show them what the Yazidi community is facing on a daily basis, and also what happened 2014, because most of the people don't know about that. That's really a big problem, because in Germany we do have the biggest diaspora community of Yazidi, like in the whole wide world. And with the outreach, we want really to activate the students and also the teachers to talk about the topic with family and friends, and also in the classes and in the schools or in the universities. And but also maybe try to get active, try to be a part of a change. And this can be small things like signing petitions, or something like that can also make a little change. On the other side, we want to connect with the Yazidi communities, the diaspora communities, and maybe also get them to see the exhibition, come here and have a platform to talk about what they are facing on a daily basis. Because it's always not that easy to be a diaspora community in a whole different country. With this work, you can really see that minorities like Yazidis really have an agency, and they are not only victims as such. They are really strong survivors, and they are really fighting for their lives and also for a better life. And this is something I really want to, you can see when you're working with survivors. And I think that's really nice then to have this platform, and they really can make a change. One of the biggest things that needs to happen is that the genocide needs to be recognized as such from the German government. That's still not happening, but they are really fighting for that, and they are signing the petitions, and it's really outstanding to see how they try to make a change for them. And as an NGO, you really have the opportunity to help and give them the space to talk about that and to work with these communities and try to make a change is what I really love about my work.
I'm Hadeer Hando. I'm 24 years old and I'm from autonomous government of Kurdistan in North Iraq. And I have a permanent position as an actor in the State's Theater in Karlsruhe, and currently working there as an actor in a couple of productions. I'm from Sharia. I was born in Sharia, is a community that is 18 kilometers away from Duhok, North Iraq in Kurdistan. I studied there acting for 2 years, but because of the situation and the conflict with ISIS, it was not possible to continue studying because the risk was too big or too risky to study there or to be there for me. So that's why I had to flee to Germany in 2015, April 2015. Yazidi community is it's a chained community. They are connected together. They have a very strong bond as a community because they all know what they have been through to be here and the gladness or the pleasure that they're here and to live their freedom or to have the ideas what they could follow, what they want to follow, what they're willing to follow without any hesitation or have any fear of being discriminated by other surroundings. The Yazidi religion is more natural related religion. So we don't have prophets, we have angels. And through the angels we can reach reach to the God, which is the most holy and the biggest position that he has. We have two main feasts in their religion. One is in April and the other one is in December. And both of these feasts are connected to nature. For example, we have in one feast we symbolize an egg, like the fluid inside the egg as in water. We are connected to the four elements. The fluid inside the egg is water and the cover of the hard side of the egg is like the earth. We color the eggs for being the colorful world that we are living in. And also when it hatches, symbolizes the air in our religion. And also we have another feast that is done in December, which symbolizes the very short 3 days, the shortest 3 days of the year. And in the old Yazidi mythology and ideology, we suspected or we thought that the days are getting shorter, which meant that the God is maybe upset with us. So that's why we started fasting for 3 days. And after the 3 days, the days get longer, like each minute and each time. And in the 4th day of December, we celebrated for days being long, and we have more sun in the day, which the sun is a very, very holy element in the Yazidi religion. The temple is one of the oldest temples in Iraq, Lalish temple, and there's only one temple for the whole Yazidi religion. There might been possible that there are other temples could have been existed, but due to because in Yazidi religion we have 74 genocides through the history, and through these genocides, like a majority of the things have been extinguished and have been ruined or destructed or destroyed. So what we currently have is only one temple in Lalish, and what we all know about. But in thousands of years, there might be a possibility that we could have had something else. But through the genocides, and everything has been destructed. In Lalish temple, like with every feast and with every celebration that we have in our religion, we lighten up 365 candles on the temple on different positions of the temple, like and these symbolizes the days of the year and also the light in the year. So it symbolizes with the sun, with the light of the days. So of a peaceful 365 days, of a hoping of peaceful 365 days of the year. This is the ideology has been spread through the ISIS members or ISIS fighters, that they say that Yazidi people are the devil worshippers because fire is very holy to them, which is a complete misunderstanding. If you look at it from another perspective, which ISIS members definitely didn't, was not that the light is most important, and because the fire symbolizes the light, and fire symbolizes the light from the sun and the sun. That's the perspective that hasn't been looked on. I've always found that acting, I can express myself in the way that I can't in a society where I'm most likely to get discriminated because I'm a Yazidi person. Where in northern Iraq, there is a very big possibility that you get death threats and you get threats for saying something that in some sides are not favorable. So when it's not in their favor, you actually get death threats. And I've always wondered acting, and I've always loved acting because you can express yourself in such ways that are not possible in the reality. And being an actor in State Theater Karlsruhe and being an actor in general allows me to express myself and to talk about a religion that is hugely misunderstood. So I can at least talk loud about something that I feel myself responsible for, which is my religion, which is the publicity of my religion, which to spread the right ideology of my religion and peaceful, loving religion, which I have and which I've lived with my parents and practiced every day of my life.
Dear ladies and gentlemen at the ZKM, dear participants of the live stream on your screens, I kindly ask you for your attention. We would like now to begin the ceremonial opening of the exhibition Nobody's Listening, about the forgotten genocide in Iraq against the Yazidis, here in the Media Theater of the ZKM Center for Art and Media in Karlsruhe. To the guests of the guests tuned to the live stream, I would like to say once again that there is a translation of the event in Arabic and Kurmanji. Here at the ZKM, the event will be mainly in English, but also some of the speeches will be in German. And headsets for simultaneous translation from German to English will be available for all international guests who do not understand German. As we are still in the time of the pandemic, I would like to inform you also that here in the auditorium, the wearing of masks is mandatory. Today's opening is a very moving day for all who have worked on this exhibition for a long time and for all who have suffered, of course, from the terrible acts of the IS in Iraq. We are very honored and pleased that Winfried Kretschmann, Minister President of Baden-Württemberg, has accepted the patronage of this exhibition in view of the long-standing commitment of the state government to the Yazidis. Among the many distinguished guests of this evening, I would like to expand a special welcome to the two States Secretary Florian Hassler and Ute Leidig, to the Member of State Parliament Ayala Chatal-Tepe, to the Lord Mayor of the city of Karlsruhe, Frank Mentrup, and the members of the City Council, Michael C., Lüpo Kramer, and Tom Höhn. The elected Lord Mayor of Karlsruhe's Turkish economic partner city, Van, Bedia Ertan, the Deputy Special Representative of the United Nations Secretary General, Resident and Humanitarian Coordinator for Iraq, Ms. Irena Vojáčková-Sollorano, the senior prosecutors from the German Federal Supreme Court of Justice here in Karlsruhe, Dr. Anna Zabek, Jasper Klinger, and Mr. Christian Ritscher. But most of all, we are very pleased and honored to have so many members of the Yazidi community present today. This includes Hala Safir, Yazidi activist and member of the Yazidi Survivor Network, and Lamia Aybashar, Yazidi activist, survivor, and Sakharov Prize laureate. Both will be on the stage later. Also, I warmly welcome the artist Jamil, Soro, Nahrin Malaki, Tikran Mato, Fala Al-Rassam, Ivana Dalou, and Farad, And maybe I would like just to ask an applause for all these artists coming also a very long way to join this opening here. From Iraq, present as well is the co-founder and president of the global Yazidi NGO, Yazda, Hadeer Elias, and Nadia Nasrusov, legal advocacy director of Yazda. From Karlsruhe, the new chairman of the Society of Threatened People, Burkhard Gauli is among us. The Society of Threatened People, die Gesellschaft für bedrohte Völker, is our cooperation partner. And the deputy chairman, Eytan Celik, will also be later on the stage. Also, cooperation partner of the exhibition is the Institute for Transcultural Health Science of the State University Baden-Württemberg in Villingen-Schwenningen, from which I welcome the director and psychologist, Professor Dr. Jan Kislehan, who moderated an artist talk here in the Media Theater this afternoon. No welcome, of course, without thanks. But here it comes, and I speak for all project participants, especially from our deep heart. The exhibition, whose premiere station we are opening today at the ZKM, and which will hopefully be shown in many places around the world in future, was only possible thanks to the general support of the Ministry of State, Baden-Württemberg, the US Agency for International Development, USAID, the International Organization of Migration, IOM, and the city of Karlsruhe. Many thanks for this. On behalf of our cooperation partners, Yazda, the Institute for Transcultural Health Science, and the Society of Threatened People, I would also like to thank the many people whose commitment and enthusiasm made this exhibition and event possible. First of all, a very big thank to the curator Ryan de Souza and artistic director Dijon Dager, to Ahmed Kudida, who can't be here with us from Yazda UK, and Vian Darwish of Yazda. Also to Easy Tiger, I would like to extend my thanks. The design company from London, which produced the exhibition, Nick Bernard, is with us tonight. The entire team at the Society of Threatened Peoples, especially Burkhard Gauli in Karlsruhe, but also all the other members in Karlsruhe, and especially also Tabea Giesecke, are fantastic, and it was a pleasure to work with you. Also, thank you to the team of the Ministry of State in Stuttgart for their help in every situation, especially to Lisa Stengel and Sebastian Lazar. A big thank you. And of course, to all our dear colleagues here from the ZKM, I want to extend the thank you to Helga Huskam, the new CEO at the ZKM, Teresa Retzler for her great efforts to make this possible, to Adamantia Gulanteris for the press work, Banu Bayer, Anne Deuper, and Ronny Haas. To our great video studio and our great event team to make the streaming possible tonight, and also this event in times of pandemic to make it safe and kind of organized. And also to everyone else, I want to say thank you, whom I might have forgotten. The first speaker, and we have a kind of a row of speakers tonight, I would like kindly to ask Peter Weibel on the stage, the CEO of the ZKM.
Sehr geehrter Herr Staatssekretär, sehr geehrter UN-Sonderbeauftragte, sehr geehrter Bürgermeister, for ZKM, art and humanity is a synonym. For us, art is part of human rights, and human rights are part of the freedom of art. Therefore, ZKM supports since many years artists and institutions in crisis and in critical situations. For example, we have supported by exhibitions Arabian women, and we have supported now artists at risk. And also now we support people, writers of freedom who are in escape regions, etc. Therefore, I would say ZKM in the Stadt Karlsruhe, the city of Karlsruhe, is the really best place for such an exhibition because we are always supporting humanity, and the city of Karlsruhe is the residency of law. There's no better place in Germany for such an exhibition. Thank you.
As the next speaker, I would like to welcome Mr. Florian Hassler, State Secretary at the Ministry of State, Baden-Württemberg, to the floor.
Sehr geehrter Herr Ziegler, sehr geehrter Herr Weibel,
Mr. Weibel,
sehr geehrte Frau Kollegin
dear colleague Leidig,
Mentrup,
Mayor Mentrup,
sehr geehrte Frau Sonderbeauftragte
Miss Special
Sollorano
Representative Sollorano, and also everyone else who contributed to the success of putting together this exhibition and who've been fighting for the fate of the Yazidi for years. Heidi Elias, Brian de Sousa, Dr. Kislan, Ms. Safil, and Ms. Bashar. I would have liked to welcome Düsen Tekal. I would like to congratulate you on recent honors bestowed upon her by the federal government. She may be listening on the live stream, so you deserved it. Congratulations. Ladies and gentlemen, dear guests, it is a great and very special honor and joy for me here to be part of the opening of the exhibition Nobody's Listening today. I am also to convey you the warmest regards by Minister President Kretschmann, who is unfortunately busy in Berlin today, but I was on the phone with him just a few minutes ago and he sends his warmest regards. It has now been 2 years that you, Mr. de Sousa, visited us in the State Ministry to present the idea for this exhibition project. Now, you and your team were not to be discouraged since then, so despite the pandemic, you held that Baden-Württemberg, after a first presentation in the parliament in Baghdad, is exactly the right place to show this important exhibition for the first time in its entirety. And for us, it was clear very quickly that we wanted to support this project. Now, as a state government, we have a very special connection with the region in northern Iraq and the minority of Yazidi due to the special quota for 1,000 vulnerable women and children victims of IS violence since 2015. And I still remember very well how the Special Council of Yazidi, this was when we were getting together in Berlin, they reported to us and they told us, and they brought a folder with pictures. You could barely look at them. It was a horrible experience. Must have been September, October 2014. So this was still very recent. The attack in Sinjar happened on 3rd of August that year, and these pictures, they are stuck in our brains. So the Minister President said on the very same day, we have to take action, we have to do something, we want to put together a special quota for vulnerable people, and we want to help and support the Yazidi in this situation as best as we can, really. And if these pictures stay with you like they did with me, and in the light of the terrible, horrible crimes that this exhibition is about, it's really difficult to remain hopeful, of course. But regardless, I want to start my speech with hope. So in the summer, some Yazidi young people visited us in the state ministry. They came to Baden-Württemberg as part of the special quota back in the day. And in the summer, we met some young people who have come a very, very long way since then, who've learned a new language, who have completed school. Young people who want to campaign for their cause. Young men and women who now dream of a future again. And you, Ms. Bashar, you are an impressive example of the strength that many of you have found to stand up for your community, for justice and for your rights. And there are also successes that are not as obvious. My wife teaches at a school in Stuttgart, and she often tells me of a 15-year-old Yazidi boy who came to Stuttgart Stuttgart as part of the special quota and is now the best pupil in her class. Now, these young people and so many others who have suffered immeasurably, they all give us hope, especially in the light of these depressing images that are part of the exhibition, which will be on display in Karlsruhe for the next weeks. Now, as the state government of Baden-Württemberg, we are very grateful to the aid workers, volunteers, partner organizations for helping us put together this special quota for especially vulnerable women and children in 2015, and that they helped us save more than 2,000 people and provide them with a second home here in Baden-Württemberg, people whose stories and whose fate will be visible to all of us in this exhibition. Nobody's Listening visualizes the devastating effects for the survivors of this genocide. Nobody's Listening reminds us and commemorates all those who have lost their lives, who are still in captivity. Nobody's Listening, in an impressive way, tells the tragic story of a young Yazidi woman and her brother. But Nobody's Listening also looks to the future of the Yazidi community, and we all need to work towards providing a future for this religious community steeped in such a rich tradition. This exhibition underlines and accentuates the unwavering courage of the survivors and gives them a voice in their fight for justice, for recognition, and the conservation of their rich cultural heritage. As the state of Baden-Württemberg, we will continue to support the 1,000 women and children. We will continue with our projects in the region and help rebuild. We have agreed on a special quota in the coalition agreement, and we will continue to work towards the judicial prosecution of the crimes. And I don't think there could have been any better place. I mean, after all, Karlsruhe is home to the Federal Public Prosecutor, and also thanks to the investigations of the Federal Prosecution Office, we have been able to start first proceedings against IS perpetrators. Dear guests, I would like to thank the initiators of this exhibition, Yazda and Ryan D'Souza. I would also like to thank the Society for Threatened Peoples and, of course, the Center for Art and Media here in Karlsruhe, as well as the many participating and supporting organizations without whose committed and dedicated help this exhibition in Baden-Württemberg would not have been possible. I would like to wish for all of you and all of us that we let this exhibition touch our hearts, that we listen and look, and that we fight together for the criminal prosecution of the crimes, for the rebuilding of the region and the protection of the victims. Thank you.
And now I would like to invite Irena Vojáčková-Sollorano, Deputy Special Representative of the United Nations in Iraq, to the stage. Thank you very much.
Ich muss gestehen, trotz meines Namens bin ich Deutsche und ich hoffe, dass es allen Yazidis Mut geben wird.
It'll give all the Yazidis courage, because I also came to Germany as a refugee to Baden-Württemberg.
2 months ago, Yazidi survivors, Iraqi authorities, civil society and international community soberly observed the 7th anniversary of the start of the ISIS genocide against Yazidi community in 2014. Every year on August 14, we stand in solidarity with all the individuals who suffered these unimaginable crimes and seek justice for them in the city of Karlsruhe. However, for healing and ensuring that these crimes never happen again to anybody, it is important that memory of victims and their suffering is present in our collective conscience, beyond Commemoration Day, and across different communities. By understanding how evil has happened and educating future generations about its consciousness, we lay the foundation for a more peaceful and prosperous future. The powerful virtual reality and art exhibition, Nobody is Listening, launched today here in the city of Karlsruhe, after tours of multiple cities in Iraq, serves exactly that purpose. The exhibition tells the story of Yazidi suffering and impact of the violence against their community to a wider audience in Iraq and globally. At the same time, the importance of this exhibition also lays the fact that words and lessons resonate with all who were persecuted before and because of their name, religious belief, ethnic or political affiliation, gender or identity. Through this story, we are sending a message to them in the spirit of humanity. You are not alone. You are not forgotten. I would like to extend my thanks for everyone who has contributed to making this exhibition happen. To all the team of Nobody is Listening. It is a long, long list, which most probably I will forget somebody, but I will nevertheless try. It is Easy Tiger, Yazda, the Federal State of Baden-Württemberg, Stadt Karlsruhe Kulturamt, IOM, Society of Threatened Peoples, the Institute of Transcultural Health Services, but most importantly, to the survivors who have been willing to share their stories in order to make this type of awareness and education initiative possible. It is a remarkable day, and I'm personally very proud of the state of Baden-Württemberg to take care of all of you. Thank you.
And now I would like to invite Dr. Frank Mentrup, Lord Mayor of the city of Karlsruhe, to the stage.
Ja, lieber Philipp Ziegler, lieber Peter Weibel,
Philipp Ziegler, Mr. Weibel, and also all the team members of the ZKM. I would also like to welcome the State Secretaries, Florian and Ute. Lovely to see you, the 3 city councillors present, Lubokrama, Michael C. and Tom Hoyam, and of course all of you as guests and victims, as committed, dedicated people, passionate fighters, representatives of these important ideas here at the ZKM. I would like to thank all the initiators of this exhibition project, because it is not to be taken for granted that the fate of the Yazidi people 7 years after the IS genocide should be catapulted into the public eye in such a moving, forceful way once again. My special thanks goes to Yazda and the many Yazidi people who have put their heart and their passion and their artistic dedication into this project. I would especially like to thank the Society for Threatened Peoples. They do impressive and impactful work on human rights, and they brought the exhibition to Karlsruhe. Over the next few weeks, the Society plans to visit a number of schools and other educational institutions in order to raise awareness of the fate of the Yazidis. And As mayor of the city of Karlsruhe, I am of course delighted that Burkhard Gauli, who is the head of the society here, is also now the federal head of the board, president of the board. So congratulations, and I'm impressed that you are willing to take that on. I know it's a lot of work, but of course that brings additional visibility to Karlsruhe. I would also like to thank the ZKM, and I mean, equaling culture and human rights, or art and human rights. You captured that idea very well. That's the attitude that we have noted about the ZKM for many years now, and thank you once again also as head of the board of the foundation. It makes me insanely proud that the ZKM not only has a very clear position here, but that it also implements that in so many projects again and again. It's not the first event at the ZKM that deals with the fate of the Yazidi people. Of course, in our personal lives, but also in the lives of people, what holds true is that if you experience injustice, but you're not heard, you're not seen, you're not supported, but you're just forgotten, then this is perceived as a double injustice. And therefore, any initiative reminding us of the suffering of the people is so important. Any initiative that gives those people a face and a voice, or just reaffirms their humanity, confirms that, and especially in light of the German history, it's also important to prevent the perpetrators from being successful. You need to prevent the success of a genocide. You need to prevent entire peoples from disappearing. And so this is always about individual suffering, but it's also about cultures, it's about religious communities, it's about ideas that only exist because that specific culture exists, and it's about making sure that these things are not destroyed. So it's also about global heritage, about heritage for our planet, for our world, and about the future that can arise from such exhibitions. Many thousands of Yazidis have been persecuted and killed since 2014 by the IS. Many women and children were also abducted and abused, and in many cases that's still happening. We are horrified by this, and we share in these people's plight. However, we also have deep admiration for the courage and the resolve of all those who have survived these atrocities and who are now struggling to be heard and seen by the global community and to obtain justice. Now, the government of Baden-Württemberg welcomed a special quota of 1,000 Yazidi women and culture in our state in 2015 and is currently endeavoring to put together a second such quota. This was and is a widely acclaimed gesture, one for which I am very grateful to our state government. I believe that in taking in quotas of persecuted groups, that this is a happy medium for refugee policy that should not remain restricted to exceptions of this kind. On the one hand, an open borders policy, such as we saw in late 2015, would not be supported by the majority of the German public. On the other hand, we would be doing the millions of persecuted people on our planet injustice if we were to seal ourselves off completely, isolate ourselves, as the EU and Germany are currently still attempting to do. By contrast, accepting quotas in a measured but continuous way would give the persecuted people hope and would fulfill our responsibility as a prosperous nation and greatly improve our reputation. I would like to add another thought here that maybe can provide a somewhat different link. I think the experiences from our retreat from Afghanistan and the question whether the result of these military operations justifies all the injustice and all the suffering and all the costs and all the other things. And now we're leaving behind people there who had such a great hope when they started helping our military action there, and who are now in great danger. Well, this is something we need to ask ourselves, something we need to revise. So in Germany, in the EU, and also globally, we need to consider how international politics can look like in the future when crises like these occur. And I think the way the state of Baden-Württemberg approached the situation in 2015 might serve as, well, at least part an answer to that question. Of course, regardless of and independent of all the military options, to just help the people who are immediately affected and to not just take them in and stick them into some kind of camp, but to integrate them in a sensible, rational way, but also to really appreciate the opportunity to get to know a culture, to get to know a religious community, to encounter people from a different cultural identity, and to also help international communication and cooperation. I'm so proud to see how many people are here today from all over the world, because this is also networking, bringing people together. So this is not just preventing the destruction of people, the killing of people, but this is also a sign of, well, it's also protecting the culture, and it's also about promoting and helping and supporting these people. It's about creating a foundation for a possible restart in the original home, which I think can only ever evolve from such a network, because a restart in your former home, well, this is not something that international forces can do by themselves. This has to be initiated by the people of that culture and has to be filled with life by the people of that culture. And that's where this strong cohesion and this group of this network of people whom you helped escape the situation and evolve without integrating them in a way that they have to give up their own identity as Yazidi people, without living as Yazidi people, well, this could have a lot of potential to create such a development, and this might even be more successful than the military option alone or at all. So I think these are also aspects that we should reconsider when we're looking back on situations like these, because this is a political discussion that will continue in Germany and in the EU over the next few years, and that we need to have. But for now, let me thank you so much, especially all of you from the Yazidi community, for coming to Karlsruhe tonight. Thank you for the strength you're demonstrating here by putting such an exhibition together at all, and for letting us get to know the Yazidi people, learning about your story and your fate. Wishing you all the best for this exhibition and for the other initiatives and the ideas. I have heard about a few of them, so we have a lot of ideas for the future. Thank you so much.
And now I would like to welcome on the stage Eytan Celik, board member and deputy chairman or chairwoman of the Society of Threatened People, and herself also Yazidi. Thank you very much for joining us tonight and for the collaboration, and please, the stage is yours.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues and friends, first of all, I'd like to thank you all for coming. My name is Eytan Celik, and I'm very grateful to be at this event today. I'm a board member of the organization Society for Threatened People. The purpose of our NGO is to protect the rights of minorities worldwide, and we are the second largest human rights organization in Germany with over 4,000 members. As a teenager, and a Yazidi growing up in the diaspora, I didn't know much about my own religion. Many young Yazidis in Germany felt the same way. At that time, I had found a book from the 90s on my parents' bookshelf that was about Yazidi history and religion, so it could answer many questions for me. The author of this book is a deceased religious scholar and member of the advisory board of the GFBV, Gernot Wiesner, who was very close to the Yazidis and stood up for them. With his help, the German government officially recognized the Yazidis as politically persecuted. I'm very proud today, as a Yazidi and vice chairwoman of the GFBV, to be able to continue this work. The 3rd of August is burned into the memory of all of us Yazidis. I will never forget the pictures, never forget how men were murdered and women were abducted. Despite the decisive steps from Baden-Württemberg to grant asylum to Yazidi women and girls and children, help is still needed. There are currently over 2,000 women and girls missing. Also, many of the women who are already saved require psychological support due to the trauma they endured. Also, many Yazidis and genocide survivors have no permanent right of residence in Germany yet. I'm grateful for the survivors who have the courage to share their stories with us. And I'm even more grateful to have two here today, Hala Safi and Lamia Ashibasha. To you, I'd like to say we are listening and we are fighting until justice is reached. For that, it is important to educate and sensitize people about the injustice against minorities, including the Yazidis. We have to start the education work early in order to bring about change. This education campaign is very close to our association's heart and has already been implemented in the last few weeks. Exhibitions like the one we are opening today are significant for raising awareness and educating people about the critical situation of minorities, like the ongoing Yazidi genocide, especially the events that happened in 2014. Exhibitions are a medium for NGOs to reach the public and the decision makers alike. I would like to thank all the participants from the Yazidi communities for making a difference today. It is also essential that the politicians take a stand with the Yazidi people because work is still to be done. For example, the genocide is yet to be officially recognized by the German government. We need to help them to rebuild and hold the perpetrators accountable. I would also like to thank the ZKM for their fruitful collaboration over the last few months and their support in raising awareness of this important issue. I'm also very grateful about the cooperation with our partner organization, YASTA, without whom this event would also not have been possible. I would like to highlight two names in particular and thank them for their commitment. Ryan and Burkhard, with your passion, this project became possible. Many thanks to you too. I would like to thank the city of Karlsruhe and the state of Baden-Württemberg for always standing by the side of the Yazidis and dedicating themselves to this difficult issue. With our joint effort, we accomplished a very impressive exhibition, and I'm looking forward to our further cooperation. Thank you very much for coming.
Now, after those speeches, I would like to invite Hala Safi, the face of our exhibition, Lamia Abashar, Professor Dr. Jan Kieselhan, and Haider Elias from YASTA to the stage, and the moderator, Rein de Sousa, curator of the exhibition. Translated from Kurmanji in Arabic, will be the discussion on stage by Vivian Darwish, also from YASTA. Welcome on the stage.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the speakers here tonight, I would like to express our deepest gratitude to Ziegler Museum, to Philipp, to Teresa, the whole team, for hosting and helping us to put on today's exhibition of Nobody's Listening. We'd also like to thank the State Ministry of Baden-Württemberg, the United Nations, USAID, IOM, as well as the city of Karlsruhe for their sponsorship of the exhibition. I'd also like to note and to thank Hadeer and the Yazidi organization, as well as all the Yazidi survivors and representatives of the Yazidi Survivor Network, who have been integral to building this exhibition, and working along them every step of the way has been an honor of a lifetime. Genocide, war crimes, and crimes against humanity are international crimes that are conscience shocking and diminish our collective humanity. The crimes committed against the Yazidi community in 2014 amounts to genocide. Many other communities in northern Iraq, in fact, every community in northern Iraq, Christians, Shabak, Kakais, just to name a few, also suffered at the hands of ISIS. Many other Muslim communities also. Nobody's Listening aims to use art from the Yazidi community, from Muslim artists, from Christian artists, as well as new technologies such as virtual reality, to refocus international attention back on the situation facing these communities today, to highlight the ongoing plight of survivors and affected communities, and to amplify their calls for justice and recognition. This is a forward-looking exhibition. Rather than looking at the past, we ask the survivors and artists to provide strong messages of what needs to happen today. They talk about what justice and recognition means for them, as well as the importance of countering violent extremism, protecting cultural heritage, and strengthening religious freedom in order to prevent future atrocities. We decided to make Nobody's Listening the title of this program, as this was the exact phrase relayed to us nearly in every conversation since we started this project in 2018. Approximately 3,000 women and children are still missing or in ISIS captivity, and UNITAD, the UN team investigating the genocide, informed the UN Security Council this year that they had clear and compelling evidence that a genocide had been committed. And yet, not a single ISIS fighter has been brought to justice for the crime of genocide in Iraq. We are delighted to be working with USAID and the United Nations and IOM to show the virtual reality to different communities and cities across Iraq. And we very much look forward to working with the Society for Threatened People in their education campaign in schools and universities across Germany. Many of the artists and portraits are of survivors who benefited from the Special Quota Project. And I hope that this exhibition will travel to other cities and inspire other governments to emulate these heroic efforts led by the State Ministry of Baden-Württemberg. I very much hope you will all visit the exhibition tonight and try the virtual reality experience and make a pledge of commitment by tying a ribbon on our tree of solidarity. I'm delighted to be joined by friends and colleagues. I now turn first to Hala Safil, who's traveled all the way from Iraq and, as Philipp mentioned, is the face of our exhibition. Hala, thank you for being here with us tonight. We'd be delighted to hear from you about the challenges facing Yazidi survivors in Iraq today and what could be done to help address the situation.
حالاتك قلقي بخير هاتم قلقي بكيف انت يرو المرة الفيدريا مدفع أمدس بكن السؤال اشتبكم كتكار بيجي إيش مرة تحديات هكا ناجيات ترى درباس بأنه العراقي وضعي وانشيا حاليا. قالك ممنون صاحبي وقالك ممنون حكومة ألمانيا شماك قالك اهتمام دايا قضية قالك ممنونش زي كي ام رأشي و شفي من دقيقة قالك ناجيات وكا استقبالها قالك ناجيات هاكرين وقالك يعني هاتن عالجاندن نفسيا وجسديا الفيدريم تمام.
Thank you so much for Germany as a state, and also thank you so much to ZKM Museum, and also thank you so much to this state who held thousands of Yazidi survivors and provided them psychosocial and health support.
تحديات ما كناجيات وكغير ناجيات يعني اتنازحين هطنها العراقي ده أس بهنم إنه وقع إنه أزكش عراقي هاتما وأس يعني وضعي ويدرينها حاليا الزانم شوايا قالك تحديات هننا يعني هر إيكي بشغلك وبيجي قالك يعني هر إيكي تشتكي وخواسي بس أس بهنم قلنا كتحقيق العدالة نين الويدريدا قالك جرى أم كتين إهمال كرن يعني إيش قبلي كحكومة ما يعني قالك جرى اهتمام ما تيكرن يعني إيش دولة يعني الدولة بتر اهتمام لنا ما إيش دولتها ما بيتر.
As a survivor, so the survivors, but also not only the survivors, as Yazidis in Iraq, we are facing so many challenges, especially in the IDP camps after 7 years from the displacement. The challenges, they are differs from a person to a person, but if you ask like different people, they will give you different answers. For me, for example, justice, having the justice we look for is one of the needs and challenges that we are facing now. We are as Yazidis, we feel that we are neglected from our government, from the Iraqi national government, while there are other countries. Their governments, they take care and they think about us more than the national one, which is our government.
أسكى شخصك إنه كأزد بهنم كاتش مرض به حاليا أزد بهنم كبريهم يعني دهني دنيا كتحقيق العدالة أسكى شخصك إنه أزد بهنم كتحقيق العدالة يعني تشتاهمي مهم ترى كمتسر بشغلن إشبر قالك محتاجة وقت تعليمي نشنا جاتها قالك المحتاجة إعادة تأهيلنا وأسكى شخص يزد بيجم إنه كذا محتاجي إنه مقابر ما يجمعي بين الراكرين لأن في هفت صالنا هطانها مقابر جماعي نهاتنا راكرين في هفت صالنا هطانها نحكي أمش مخطوفات يدخل نزان يعني أم تشتكي شيء نزان يعني مصيري واني مجهولة و
the challenges that we are facing now, they lead to the several needs that we are facing today. And as I mentioned before, these needs or challenges, they differ from a person to a person. For me, as a person or as a survivor, I believe focusing on justice, working on justice is one of the challenges that I myself face, but also there are some other survivors. They need to continue their education, they need rehabilitation programs, they need psychosocial support. Some other survivors, and also I am one of them, they need to know or those survivors who have their family members, like the remains of the dead bodies of the family members in the mass graves, to be worked on.
جبر فيك أسد بهنم فن جلكي مهمة إنه بشاغنو برا ساتيم يعني إنه برا هاتين صورتش مرة قردين أزيد سر صورة ربعي بما مبهور ناكر يعني كأف صورة إنه رجعك بكابن وكا معرض دوونه رجعك أسبي مفيدري إنه كاس قال بكم مشوارة صورة هاتا قردين إنه يعني عملكي من نبو إنه رجعك تشتاق شيء ببي بس با في صورتي يعني أسبهنم قالك يعني ملامح حيتوي قالك معانات الملامح حيتوي دهن الخلف وكا خلف الكوالي صورة قالك معاناتهن قالك تشتهن ناينا قوت الناي عبران نشد بأنه أفرو كامل شوارب بايبن أسنكار بمعاناتي تخبق هين ما واي معاناتي يعني ملاتي خبق هين ما واي شبروي كانوا كاست بهنم فن قالك تشتاقي غنمو أو في بشوفي معرضي قالك أملش مرة شاكر و أصيبت كم إنه كدولة الدترجي اهتمامي وها بدنا قديام ما شبركة قديام ما قالك أمازنا وأمد بهن في حفظ صالنا بمفرع نابا نئيك يعني كدولة ما بمفرع نابية بجهون بمفرع بنك أمو هون ضغط الحكومة العراقية بكن إنه أو رابن بمفا وكتشتكيش مرة بكن.
I would like to talk about this photo because when the photographers came to me and they took this photo, I never expected that one day it will be used in such an occasion, in such an exhibition. If you look to the photo, you might see, as I see, so many sufferings behind these facial expressions. The photo is not just like a photo, but behind the sense of the photo, there are thousands of the sufferings I myself have been through, and that's why the art is very important, and also such exhibitions, they are so important to reach out to you because we need you to stand with us, to support to support us, so that we can stand together and make a pressure on the Iraqi government to do something for us and to cover these needs that we are suffering from, because it has been 7 years and the Iraqi government, it hasn't been done like anything for us yet.
ووقع يعني ما أنا ما هطان هالمخيمات هذا ما نعمل المخيمات هذا إشبر كهتانها أم نقارن فقرنا شنقال نا آمنة يعني تشيد بينه قالك بيجنا آمنة بس شنقال نا آمنة شنقال هتانا يعني هتا حفظ صالنا مقابر ما يجمع اشتيران نقرنا يعني قال جرى أزد بيجم يعني هر عائلة خنا بين هر سبع وبرايت خنا بينهم الوالو أسكاربم روجك ببهنم كمقبرة كوان بيتشكرن هريكي بكذا مقبرة كده يعني هستيد وان رابن
and also we are still living in the ITP camps, especially the survivors, and we cannot go and return to our homes. We cannot go and return to Shingal because they used to say Shingal it's safe and secure now, but it is not safe and not secure, and we cannot go and live there. Also, the mass graves of our beloved ones, they are still on the ground like the first day. And also, for example, many times I say to myself, I will not be able to see my father and my brothers anymore. At least, like, I wish at least I see their like remains or the bones of their dead bodies. They are buried in a grave, so that I can visit the grave one day.
أم بتني يعني كأم ناجات بتني مثلا أم نقار نبتني في تشتيه مي بكن أم كقصصي خد بيشين أم مناصري قلقت كان ومنظمات يعني مثلا كمنظمات يزدا منظمات قلق إنه بمرنا بس بنفس الوقت هناك منظمات إنه يعني ناجاتها استغلال جيت كان فيكي إنه منقارنا ابتني رابا نصرفها ما قلق مناصر كرام قلق يعني كأسنا حاليا عدوك الشبكة ناجات إزدي مال عراقي ده أم ناسا كنا بس با لازمة أم يعني أم هي بيتر بان يعني بان قلق عندهم كاربان بيتر مناصري بكن بيتر وس يعني أس نهال في درجة بيشم إنه قلق أدلة ما هنا قلق تشتهنا أم هي بيت كان إنه كا ألمانيا جي كاربي ملفي إزديافا كأفتشتي بسري إزدياهاتي إبادة كجماعي بو.
So I forgot. Okay. As survivors alone, we cannot do everything for ourselves. We cannot support each other without having other people, other agencies, other NGOs, INGOs supporting us. In Iraq, for example, we have so many. We have some NGOs like Yazidi. They are supporting us, while in the same time there are some other NGOs. They are using the survivors for their own interests, and they are getting benefits from having the survivors for their own interests. But we as survivors, and I am as a Yazidi Survivors Network member, we don't care about anything. We keep going on. We keep advocating for our rights and the other survivors' rights. But alone, as I said, we cannot do more. We need the support from the other agencies.
إشبر يعني أمنها حاليا قلق مناصريت كنا هطا مثلا إنه ما قلق مناصري كره هطا بس تطبيق قانونا ناجيات أجيبه بس بتنفيذك نينا شيء بينه إنها قلق بيجن حلايا أيديا هون جهانا يعني حقوقي ودانا لأن قانونك بنافي وهذا شيء كرن بس هذا أنا ما تشتكيش قانوني نديته يعني نهاته تنفيذ كرن.
We had so many advocacy campaigns, and we will keep working on the advocacy for our own rights. And we already did so many advocacy campaigns to adopt the Yazidi Survivors Bill. And unfortunately now some people they are telling me, you as Hala and the other survivors, oh, you got your rights, now you have a law. And they don't understand that this law is not implemented yet, and then we didn't receive any any rights from our rights of reparations yet.
فيجا هون جيب مرة بندا أم فكرة كاربان بيتر طلبة حقوقي مظلومين بكن إشبار كن نأم بتنين نأزدي بتنين ويدريدا في إبادة بسير ده هات مثلا يعني كب سري إزديا هات بسري مسيحيا هات بسري جلكا هات أقليات الويدريدا يا وأمي كاربان تشتكي بكن إنه في فان حربا بسكنين يعني هجرة جماعية شمارة شبي شبر أم ضدي هجرة جماعية أنا بس باش هكا إيك ما فرا نبي وش مرة نكا مجبور نطلبها هجرة جماعية بكن شبر كعيش العراقي ذا نابية.
I would love to ask you to please you that to stand with us so that we can feel or we can be stronger, because with your support we will be stronger to advocate for our rights, but the other people who suffered from ISIS, because not only Yazidis, they were the ones who suffered from ISIS atrocities in Iraq. Yazidis, Christians, and some other religious minorities, they suffered a lot, and we need to advocate for their rights. And if in such conditions where there is no one is protecting the religious minorities in Iraq, I believe we all will ask for the general migration, the common migration, and we are against this. We don't want to leave our land, but in such conditions we cannot stay also there if there was no protection for the religious minorities in Iraq.
إجبر داعش بسلحي هاتما وبعنف هاتما بس وان هانك العراقي دا بقلمي محاربة ما تيكرن براستي إنه لازمة إنه هون جيب مرة بندا أمكاربا ضغطي الحكومة تيبكن كب ما فرابون وجارك عاد يعني قلق ممنونش برهر ايكي دعما آبي مشروعي كري وهر ايكي بيفرابي وهر ايكي اي مساعدة ما كريش بر قلق مساعدة ما جي كرا چنابي هم وكان نكهر بكن وأفتشت هاتيا يعني أفضل هاتيا فاكرين كب يعني متحف هاتيا تشيكرن بي قلق ممنونش ستات ريانجي وهريكي موجودة عسى ما جيتكا وما دبي يعني هون جيب ما بالشعرن وهون خل دوسا ما بكن كاتش بسري ما هاتا هفت صالة وهاتانها أو هفت يعني تشتب سري ما هاتي إيه مستمرة مرة يا
ISIS was fighting us with weapons, but now in Iraq not only with weapons, they are fighting us even with the pens, with the education, with the culture. They are fighting us. One more time, thank you so much for this, for the organizers and whoever worked on this exhibition, because it's the way that we can reach to you. And here I wish that you can feel us through this exhibition and put yourself in our shoes, because it has been 7 years and we are still in the same situation, which is the ongoing genocide.
Thank you very much, Hala. Your resilience was one of the main inspirations and driving factors for this exhibition. And I turn now to Lamia, who is another personal hero of mine. We had the pleasure of meeting with Lamia at a conference in Norway at the very beginning of this exhibition. Thank you, Lamia, for being here with us tonight. The question for you really is kind of reflecting on what Hala mentioned and talking about the situation and challenges now facing Yazidi survivors in Germany.
قالك ممنون حلاش ترى وجودي في إيش بداية كمدرسة في معرض يكري في شغلي قالك مهم هو منها حاولنا لم يجي كشوان أشخاص أس تبين موقع مثال عليناش مروز بيش من النرويج المؤتمر كيم ما ايكو دوتي بداية كم السر في فكرة في معرضي أم شغلين أزي نها نفسها يعني تعقيبا سر سؤالها كمش حلاكري نفسها أزي اشتكم تتشاهد بيني تحديات ومثلا مشاكلك ناجاتي ردر باس من الفيدرال ألمانيا.
أصغر هاتنا هالإنسانكي كالفيدري حاضرتكم از بینم گلگ مهمان نوکا عمل سر بپایم نسر وی تشتیه که بسری زدیا هاتی العراقی ده و کان بسری زدیا بتنی بسری هر انسان کیه که اف جریمه بسری وی تینا کردن عمل سر بپایون راست با 7 سال سر عباده زدیاره بس هاتان ها که ام طلبه گلگ تشتید کن او تشتنه هاتیه کردن.
First of all, I would love to welcome everybody who's here with us. I believe it's very important to talk about the sufferings that we have been through, the experiences we have been through as Yazidis, but not only Yazidis, also the other the other people or communities or whoever that suffered from ISIS atrocities.
واسقلك يا ممنون مش حكومة بعد بودنبرغ إجبارك أو جنو زارو كلمة إزديات هكا آنينا فيدري لأنه أو تشتكي قالك قنج بشوان جنو زارو كارا أو كن.
And also I would like to thank Baden-Württemberg state, I'm so sorry if the pronunciation was not correct, for receiving Yazidis, women and children and supporting them. That was a huge thing they did for the Yazidi community.
از بینم پشتی هکویت او تشتی هک بسریوان هاتی او محتاجی معالجه نفسی بون اجبروان نتشتکی سهلتیا بعدن بودن برکو که آنی نویدری وکا هکا حیات هکا نوداوان هکا زاروک چونا مدرسه وکا تعلیمی لغة المانی بون وکا معالجان نفسی هاتا کرن از بینم گلک تشتکی قنجبوز گلک ممنونیان.
Those women and children, they were they were in a need for having psychological support because the experiences that they have been through, they were so tough. And when those women and children, they came to Baden-Württemberg, it was like this state is giving them a new life, supporting them with psychological support, but also the children, they used to have a new life. They went to the schools, they got the chance of learning a new language, the German language. So that means a lot for me, and I myself personally, I thank this state for this program.
بين ملبا منو أسبوع كبيرات عايش ماز بينم حياتان شندي بيجدهاتي شكاهاتنا ألمانيا وكا تعليمي اللغة ألماني بوينا بس هناك هينا كاهي جرب زحمته وكاهي نفسي البال هيا إجبر أوجي كهركة جي هنا كدوي هيجل دست داعش دينا كهنا كدوي خلاص بوينا الكامبات عايشن أسوأ طلبي ليكم كبرنامج كديفا كن كهركة إنسانة كجاب كهيا عائلة خوا كجرا
I myself, I live with them, and I have seen how their lives is getting better through many things. And then, for example, they are used to have the new life and get to know the German language. So their life is getting better, but also I can see some of them they are still suffering psychologically, and they are facing so many difficulties regarding their psychology, because they are still having family members who are still missed. Because of ISIS captivity, or they were liberated, but they are living in IDP camps in Iraq, and they cannot be reunited with their family members. So here I would like to ask the state to have a similar program to reunite these families together again.
وش غيري كاتو جنت زاروك وجنت هكا كاتينا دستي داعش دا كأو إزديد دي هكا جبر الشنغالي وكي داعش هاتي الشنغالي باز داين كأو بطريقة كدينا بطريقة برنامج هاتينا فيدري كقالك جهتان وهات بإقامينا وإقامينا ندل ألمانيا أستال بيتكم كحكومة ألمانيا إقامي بديش برون نكارن فاقرين عراق جبر هاتان وهي شنغالنا آمنا.
Also, not only those children and women, but many other Yazidi people, they came to from Iraq to Germany after 2014. in not through only this program, but in other different ways. So some of them, they don't have the assignment, the German assignment, and unfortunately they cannot go back and live in Iraq because for them it's not secure and safe. And in here also I ask Germany to give them the assignment.
شبرها كونك كانت بندس داعش باش هروان جبر داعش باز دايا وبطريقة يك بزحمت هاتنا ألمانيا جي شبر ويكشوان جي رجالك بزحمته.
Because even if they were not survivors of ISIS, they ran away or escaped from Iraq because of ISIS. And they came here overseas from Iraq to Germany in difficult ways. So it's like their rights also to have the assignment here. One more time, thank you so much, and I'm glad to be here with you.
Thank you very much, Lamia. Today, only a handful of governments around the world have recognized the genocide. I believe the Netherlands, the Parliament of the Netherlands and of Belgium recently recognized the genocide. And as Eytan mentioned earlier, the government of Germany has yet to recognize the genocide. Lamia, what would it mean to you for Germany to recognize the genocide?
لم يقلق دولة مؤخرا اعتراف كريا بإبادة إيزيا وكإبادة جماعية مؤخرا هولندا وبلجيكا حكومات وان بشكل رسمي اعتراف كرن بس من الفيدرينا ألمانيا بشي أفتشها ممكريش إيزيارة هي أو اعترافها رسمي نكريا بإبادة إيزيا كإبادة جماعية شرعية السيرفي كريت شاود بيني
براستيجي وكا هكا إجبر هكا ألمانيا اعتراف بجونوسايد إزديا أجي وكا يعني بينم تشتكي غريبة إجبر إزديد بينه هكا ألمانيا دولتانا دوية وكا أزد بينم كألمانيا جي دولتك هكا إبادة بسيري ده هاتيا بس أستشتس فيهم ناك متشراهتان هالسر إبادة إزديا اعتراف بينا قرينة.
I myself, I think about this and I see it's a strange thing. It's odd thing that they haven't recognized the Yazidi genocide officially yet. Because Yazidis, they consider Germany as their second country. And also Germany itself has been through genocide and they experienced the genocide before. So I wonder why they didn't recognize the Yazidi genocide officially yet.
توقع أو بوكا جا دولتها ربريس اعتراف بجنوسايد إزديا بكا ألمانيا بيجبر ألمانيا قالك مساعدة إزديا كريا وبس هاتان هو اعتراف بينا كرينا وستال بيجيت كم هكا اعتراف بيها كرن.
I was expecting that Germany will be the first country or state that will recognize the Yazidi genocide as officially as a genocide, and they didn't do it. So here I ask Germany to recognize the Yazidi genocide officially.
شبرهتان هوا بوا هفت سالا كام جبيرنا كنا وجنوزا روكيت هتا فهفت سالا البن دستي داعش دكات عدالي تيكرن كام ويديا كجبيرانا كنو كاس هيفيد كم مشمرا مهما هر دولتك اعتراف بجونوسايد ما بكاش برنا ألمانيا بتنج براونا تشتكي كتشبو بساري ما هاتا كرن.
And sorry, she just also previously mentioned that I was wondering Germany didn't recognize the Yazidi genocide yet because Germany itself helped the Yazidi survivors and the Yazidi community so much. And not only Germany, but I would like to ask all the other countries to recognize the Yazidi genocide officially because what we have been through is not an easy thing, and still we have Yazidi women and children, they are missed and they are
It has been 7 years they are suffering from these suffers. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lamia. Dr. Kizilhan, when we went to Iraq and to Kurdistan region, to Sinjar and the refugee camps to make the virtual reality experience in 2019, in every discussion we had, the VR team, Surround Vision, and the director, Mary Matheson, it was very clear that the Yazidi community and other communities are deeply traumatized by the events of 2014. And the needs are massive, and still there's very little assistance being provided in terms of psychosocial therapy support, despite the best efforts of a number of groups, including Yazidi and yourself. We put out a statement with about 50 other NGOs about the needs of addressing the mental health crisis, particularly as it's exacerbated by the pandemic. Just wanted to know your thoughts on what could be done to address the mental health crisis facing the Yazidi community today.
Well, Ryan, just let me maybe give a short summary about the impact of trauma on Yazidi society. Yazidis call them as a 73rd or 74th genocide, which means, and we know from our research, the last 800 years, the Yazidis faced not just one genocide. This is the end of many, many genocides. So you can imagine how it impacts the society for 800 years. We know through the Ottoman empires, about 1,800,000 Yazidis were converted by force to Islam, and about 1,200,000 Yazidis were killed just being Yazidi. This is a very important psychological impact on society, which means also the relation between Muslims and non-Muslims, the minority and non-minority. This is very important. The second issue, which I am working with the support of the state government since 2015, with the first special quarter now as a head of an institute with trained psychotherapists to working with patients in Iraq and refugee camps. What I observe, the Yazidis, is after the genocide, the real crisis started now. So the Yazidi lost a lot of people, they've been killed, we have a lot of missing people. But since 2014 until now, 80,000 Yazidis left Iraq. So what will happen? We know from another communities, small minorities, if they are not able to recover this genocide and this catastrophe, probably we will not have any more Yazidis in 5-6 generations. And so far, it's not just a case of justice or studies or psychotherapy. The Yazidis are on the line to survive or not survive. And we have to act yesterday, not today, and not tomorrow. Otherwise, we will have not anymore a Yazidi society, which is one of the oldest societies in the Middle East, belong to 4,000 years. This is a collective obligation of us to do something. Otherwise, we will have not anymore. This is the same with the Kakais, with Mandeas. So we don't have any more minorities in Iraq and in Syria. And this will impact the society at all. Came to your question very briefly. I know the time is running. We are working since 2017 in all refugee camps. Still there are 350,000 Yazidis living around the city of Duhok. But it will not help. We have an impact of trauma, which means it's an attack of understanding the world. It's change the values, it change the norms. And they are not the same people before 2014. And we need for long-term psychotherapy, trauma, psychosocial support. Even when we started with Baden-Württemberg in Iraq in 2017, we had just 5 or 6 psychotherapists, psychologists. Still, in the province of Duhok, where we are working with 2 million people, we have just 5 psychiatrists. Yeah, you can imagine this is not enough. So our idea was to say we have to work in Iraq, in Duhok, in Sinjar, to train local people They speak their own languages, they know the cultural backgrounds, they know their own people. This is the way for long-term how to help them. You know, through the pandemic, you know, most of the NGOs was forced to leave because it was dangerous for themselves. Just in January 2021, this year, 111 suicide commitment was doing by Yazidi girls. So we act again and had to now do something, but this is an issue of the Iraqi and Kurdish government. This is not a problem of our NGOs or the state government of Baden-Württemberg or Germany. We need to have a health system which is providing for long term to help the people. It is very clear if we don't have a health society, we will have any democratic society. Just to say the children who survived the war or child soldiers. What will happen to the child soldiers if we don't take care on them, if we don't train them, if we give them psychosocial support? So I can prophesy you will have in 10 years a new generation of terrorist organization, which may be more horrible than IS. So we have to act now with the international support, United Nations, WHO, and the government, but the main work should be done in Iraq and in Kurdistan.
Thank you, Dr. Kizilhan. And now I turn to my friend Hadeer Elias, president of Yazda. Again, it's been an honor of a lifetime to be working side by side with Yazda on this exhibition. But we actually started working prior to this exhibition when I was working for an NGO in New York called the Global Center for Responsibility to Protect. And we worked on a global campaign with Yazda and Ms. Murad on efforts to bring ISIS to justice, which led to the establishment of the UN team investigating ISIS. Hadeer, be grateful for an update on the status of justice and what efforts needs to be done by governments around the world.
Thank you, Ryan. Well, thank you for recognizing the organizers, the contributors, and the participants that made this event possible. As you mentioned, our almost one of the first steps towards justice. Yazda was established 7 years ago, and the main reason of establishment of Yazda was to find and support one of the core values of our organization, that to fight for justice for the Yazidi community, as myself, who had family members, were killed by ISIS in the first hours of the morning. We started with the campaign in 2014 and brought a first survivor to Security Council, a survivor who was devastated, named Nadia Murad, and founded her campaign, supported her, ran her campaign until 2018. And as you said, contributing to forming UNITAD also was one of the first steps that I was telling Ryan, that the first step they told me there was 29-page document they wanted me to translate for 24 hours. This was mid-September 2016. And we also have a documentation project that started towards justice. And the mid-2015, a founder of Voices of Rwanda came to me to Texas, and they wanted to similarly do a little work over Yazidis, Voices of Yazidis, and I was the first person to testify and to take the video testimony, and there was so much to talk about. And then the interview took 13.5 hours nonstop, not eating or drinking anything, to just explain what happened to us. These projects that Yazda has been contributing and trying to achieve a bit of justice is our main goal. It's not just a humanitarian work. I think it's wonderful to have humanitarian work, but when we talk about justice, we talk about justice, reparation, and reconciliation. Any missing part of this will destroy and sabotage the rest of the process. And we at Yazda have worked tirelessly about bringing ISIS to justice. We started coordinating directly with the coalitions and Air Force in 2014. And what we need to do now is pressure the Iraqi government, because it seems like the diplomatic missions in Baghdad are not stepping on their rules and trying to respect the sovereignty of Iraq. But it's not there is a reason that we have to step out and protect the minorities and put pressure on the Iraqi government and Kurdistan regional government to make sure that there is future for the minorities in Iraq. What we have done in the past is bringing ISIS to justice first. We've documented thousands of testimonies, video testimonies, also in documents itself. We put together the compelling evidence of what ISIS have done to these survivors. We have recognized names of groups of ISIS members, and we working with any court in Europe or in the US or anywhere that they prosecute ISIS members, we contribute to that and cooperate and make sure we bring more evidence and also more witnesses to make sure that these ISIS members, if they deserve to be present, they deserve to be present and sentenced. That's one of our goals. Unfortunately, the cases are very few. When ISIS invaded Mosul and Sinjar, and it was conquered a area that was a size of a UK, and nearly 65,000 members were actively fighting for ISIS, in addition to the tribal leaders who were enabling those members and helping them. And now we have, in comparison to those great number of people, we have very, very few cases that have gone through justice and through courts. Now we understand the coalition started in 2015 and late 2014 and onward, and until 2017 we all claimed that we militarily defeated ISIS, and many ISIS members were killed. I do agree with fighting terrorists and killing them. I think if it's alternative justice, it's fine. But for Yazda, one of the goals was to bring ISIS to justice, to the International Criminal Court, to explain to the younger generation of Muslim people that these people are not good. They're not idle. They're not a perfect example for you. Do not follow them. Killing ISIS members, and it's just quickly an event, and it's going to destroy so many evidence. And what we needed to do is make sure that millions of young, good Muslims who were listening and innocent and about to be brainwashed, just watch these people and confess and tell the story, horrible stories that they did to the humanity. And that's what we needed to do. Unfortunately, very few cases have been created for prosecuting ISIS, including in Iraq. So what we need from the international community is to step in and create more tribunal courts. What UNITAD has done is great. With help of Yazda and many other NGOs, unearthed many mass graves and brought the evidence that what ISIS did was genocide against the Yazidis. We had a recent bill for the survivors that Hala and Lamia both mentioned, supposed to be contributing to the Yazidi reparation of Yazidis because of this genocide. But by the time it went through the Iraqi parliament, then almost became genocide of all the Iraqis, and that's not justice. If that happens, including members who've contributed to the genocide, are going to be reimbursed and compensated for that. What we need to do is few steps. The international community, the international NGOs, human rights activists, and anybody who's working towards the humanity and human rights and women's rights and children's rights, to find those Yazidis who have been missing. 2,752 or 53 people haven't been back to their families. And majority of those people are in Hole camp. It's a refugee camp, internally displaced camp in Syria that's controlled by IDF. And this camp contains about 75,000 people. And it's not an impossible mission to commit to, especially the Iraqi government and the international community. Bringing these people back to their families, fighting to arrest these ISIS members for the rest of Iraq and Syria, and also those who have come back to Germany and many other countries. It's obvious, those who have stamped their passport to Syria and to Iraq and Turkey and never came back for 6 months, we all should be wondering what they were doing there. These people need to be brought to justice. For sure, and many of the Yazidi survivors, they recognize the faces, they know the names, and we have a lot of evidence against them. And so then the reparation from the Iraqis, we have to pressurize the Iraqi people, Iraqi government to provide funding for this reparation bill, it includes building the infrastructure of Sinjar region and also creating allowances for the survivors and so many things within this bill. And there are a lot of legal argument that this bill can be comprehensive and very good. And the third thing is reconciliation as part of the essential part of the justice. If we don't have reconciliation between the Sunnis and the other components in the Iraqi people, then it will be difficult. This will create another ISIS group, as Dr. Kozulhan said. And I totally agree with him. This is an existential threat to the Yazidis and the minorities, that if we don't act, we won't have a future in Iraq for these minorities. So reconciliation also is very important. To highly recap what has happened, we did defeated ISIS militarily, and that was wonderful. And the coalition's work is really appreciated. We have few cases in Germany. We had 1 or 2 in France, and in other countries they're trying to have. This is highly appreciated. The Iraqis and the Yazidi people are watching very closely these cases, and they're pleased to see some results for these ISIS members. If they deserved sentencing, they should be. And so, but the third thing, what we need to do, the international intervention to the Iraqi trial. The Iraqi court system is sectarian system, and it's built not for the human rights, but also for sectarian tensions and all of that. So many things needs to be done. I'm sorry I could not explain with this short period of time. There's so many details that we need to talk about it, but I'll be happy to answer any other specific questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Hadeer. Sadly, we seem to have run out of time, but I just wanted to thank Yazda, all the brilliant staff at Yazda, all the brilliant other Yazidi organizations, Free Yazidi Foundation, Nadia's Initiative, who are doing absolutely phenomenal work. I'd also like to thank Vian, who's interpreting for us tonight and also doing phenomenal work in Iraq as well. Thank you, Dr. Kozulhan, Lamia, Hala, for being with us here tonight as well.
Thank you also very much, Ryan, for moderating this amazing panel, and thank you for everybody for giving us those important insights. We are now coming to the end of the event here in the Media Theatre, and we would like to invite you to the foyer for a reception with food and drink and the possibility of further networking and conversation. You can visit the exhibition, Nobody's Listening, in small groups on the museum balcony in the first floor. There is a staircase and you will find it. The 12-minute VR experience will be available for viewing in the first floor, but also in a second setting in the foyer. I kindly also remind you to keep your mask on in the foyer. Unfortunately, when eating and drinking, of course, the mask may be taken off. Before we close the event here, I would like to draw your attention also to other events which will take place at the ZKM during the running time of the exhibition, included guided tours with Ryan, the curator, through the exhibition, lectures, and a 2-day digital symposium on the 9th and 10th of December this year to mark the International Day to commemorate victims of genocide and the Human Rights Day. Information can soon be found on the website of the ZKM. To all the viewers in the stream, I thank you very much for staying tuned. There is in the stream now the film Receba, The Dark Wind by Hussein Hassan, which will be, it's an absolutely amazing film, impressive film made in Iraq, also in Sinjar in 2016. Thank you again for your attention and for being here virtually and in person. Please keep listening, also with the help of art, to the Yazidi and other minorities, threatened minorities and people. For us here at the ZKM, the event will continue next door in the foyer. And thank you everybody for being here, for joining your insights, and have a lovely day and a nice evening.